not the first postponement.
Yeah.
And I mean, residents of Gauteng are obviously worried about what is happening. Are you able to bring us into confidence about what exactly the issues are? What is the DA demanding that you as the ANC are not agreeing to? Thank you.
Are political squabbles putting good governance at risk? Today we dive deep into the debate in Gauteng and why it matters to us as citizens. Gauteng is the economic hub of South Africa, responsible for nearly a third of the country's GDP. This intense contestation over political power isn't just about who gets which position. It's about the future of our economy, our jobs and our livelihoods. Stay tuned as we break it all down.
I want to start with this question that talks to the ANC not accepting that we didn't get 50 plus percentage. Unless you are not necessarily, or you are not following what we've been saying here, the concept of government of provincial unit is an ANC concept, because we recognize the fact that we did not win the elections. But the reality is that we are at least above all the other parties. So we're inviting everybody to come. That's what we've been saying here. We've invited Democratic Alliance, we've invited PA, we've invited Action SA, we've invited Qatar Freedom, we've invited everybody who's in the legislature, and we have spoken to them. So there's no ANC that can formulate government alone. Doesn't exist, at least not in the province. And we agree and we accept that. But what we don't accept is us having a concept of saying there's a coalition of ANC and DA in Gauteng. There's nothing like that. It's a coalition that is bringing everybody, rather. It's a government of provincial unit that must bring everybody. And that's where we are in this province.
Greetings, my fellow brothers and sisters, and welcome to Inkarhi Its Time. I'm Kondos, your host. And today we are unpacking the tension within the Gauteng Provincial Government. With calls for President Cyril Ramaphosa to crack the whip on Premier Panyaza Lesufi, it's crucial to understand why this political drama could impact all of us. So, what's the fuss all about? Recently, former DA MP Douglas Gibson called out President Ramaphosa to intervene in what he described as unreasonable portfolio allocations by Premier Lesufi. But why does this matter?
There seems to be a crisis in Gauteng. You believe that it's small issues that are not insurmountable. This essentially can be resolved. Is that your view?
Well, Premier Panyaza Lesufi has forgotten that he's only the Premier because the DA voted for him. Firstly. Secondly, he's in the first stage of grief, which is denial that the voters rejected him and his party because they were unsatisfactory as the rulers of Gauteng over the last few years. And he needs to take those into account. The third thing is he's got 28 seats and the DA's got 22. And he mustn't now be greedy and try to grab far more than he's entitled to. The DA really wants to make Gauteng work and wants to make Lesufi look good for a change and our own people to look good. But the most important thing is to serve the people of this province.
In your view, if these two parties are unable to find each other, could it place the national government in jeopardy?
No, I don't think it would do that. The national government has set the tone and the example, and I'm quite sure that if Mr. Lesufi is unreasonable, the DA won't agree with him, and if he's unreasonable, President Ramaphosa will take out the whip.
Well,
first, let's break down the structure. Provincial governments in South Africa play a pivotal role in implementing policies and managing resources. When there is instability or poor governance at this level, it can ripple up and affect national policy and administration. Now, the DA's demand for Ramaphosa to step in is about more than just political posturing. It's a call for accountability. They argue that mismanagement in Gauteng could undermine public trust and the effectiveness of government programs. But is Gibson correct in instructing Ramaphosa to use the whip? What's your view? Gibson points out that this internal dispute could delay crucial decisions and impact service delivery. Think about issues like education, healthcare, and infrastructure, all of which are vital to our daily lives. Imagine the frustration of seeing needed improvements in your community delayed because of political power struggles. That's why this issue is so significant. Gauteng is also the economic powerhouse of South Africa. It's home to major industries, financial institutions, and millions of jobs. Political instability here can lead to economic uncertainty, affecting investments, job creation, and ultimately the livelihoods of many South Africans.
There's a lack of seriousness on the side of both the DA and the ANC in regards to Gauteng. I mean, one would have wished that as they were finalizing the national arrangement, that they would have done so with Gauteng as well in mind, so that we are able to then start working in Gauteng as well. You'll remember that this is the second time that the Premier is asked or instructed to postpone the announcement. So one would have wished that the national negotiators would have reached out to the provincial negotiators, and when an arrangement is made at national, it will have also impacted positively on the arrangement in Gauteng. But that has not taken place, and for us it shows that there is some kind of a lack of seriousness, or there's really people dropping the ball, on their responsibilities to really conclude this arrangement and start delivering services, because they've both committed. I mean, this grand coalition of the ANC and DA, they've both committed that they will put the interest of the residents ahead of their own self-interest. But what is transpiring now, it looks like it's more about positions rather than really about the issues that are affecting our people. And that's really, really a shame.
For businesses, political stability is crucial. Uncertain governance can lead to delayed projects, fluctuating markets, and a lack of investor confidence. This isn't just a political issue. It's an economic one that can impact everyone, from large corporations to small business owners.
South Africa's economic hub, Gauteng, is still without a government. Now, for the second time, newly re-elected Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi was unable to announce his provincial cabinet, and last night's delays come as negotiations between the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance deadlocked. And this after the Democratic Alliance said it will not be part of this after it was offered only 2 positions in the executive.
Well, I think one thing is for sure, the fight is fiercer than we all anticipate. Last night when I saw Lebohang Maile, TK Nliza, as well as Tasneem Mutara taking over the press conference, I knew that something was amiss, and I knew that behind the scenes there was literally blood on the floor. And as the press conference continued and they started to name call the DA, describing them as acting like spoiled brats or wanting to take over the process, you could definitely tell that the political stalemate between the two parties was definitely fierce. However, the dynamics within the Gauteng province are very different to national when it comes to proportional representation of the two parties. Between 27% of the DA and 34% of the ANC, you can see that there isn't much difference. And so what the ANC was offering the DA, at least according to Solim Simanga, was just simply unacceptable, because 2 seats in a cabinet of 10 where they hold a majority of almost 50% in the province was simply unacceptable. And what we know so far is that the DA is standing on that they will not accept 2 positions. It doesn't represent what their constituents constituents have given them in terms of power in the province. The national leadership has appealed to the provincial leadership to exercise diplomacy in this matter. And we know that Gauteng is led by young firebrands like your Tasneem Mutara, like your Lebohang Maile, who've made it very clear that with or without the DA, the ANC is already in a position to constitute a national or executive council, and that in essence, it would really be about continuing the sentiments that have been started at a national level and continuing them down to a provincial level of trying to find each other. The DA was, responsible for voting Panyaza or voting with the ANC for Panyaza Lesufi, and they are accusing the ANC now of negotiating in bad faith to say, we helped you to get your guy into power, and now when we are supposed to benefit from this new relationship, you are now backing out and treating us like the stepchildren of this Gauteng Provincial Unity, which we are not.
And if you go to other countries, coalitions are never easy. Unfortunately, this is the economic hub of this country. It will be contested. Parties will do their level best to be part of it and so forth and so on. There will be a number of tricks that will come. So we expect that. Other countries, they took a year to formulate government and so forth. I mean, the president would have explained. Gauteng is like a country. That's why it's highly contested. From where we are, we believe that we are very fair. We are accepting what needs to happen, but we are not going to allow anybody to bully us, because the reality is that DA voted with EFF in Northern Cape in the middle of these GNU negotiations. It's a fact. When we have a view that is contrary to DA can act as if they are a victim, really. Our Premier is ready to announce, and the ANC and these other parties who are ready to hit the ground running.
Because the ANC in Gauteng has sealed and concluded a deal with other parties in the legislature. I think that should be clear. However, the DA decided through their provincial leader Msimang to go in public and make allegations that ANC is unreasonable and that they were not going to come, they were going to boycott. They were not boycotting anything, they were not invited. They were not going to be here anyway. So that's what we wanted to make clear, that in Gauteng, the ANC does not want a coalition with the DA. It will not have a coalition with the DA. But in Gauteng, the ANC will work with all the parties, including the DA. That should be made clear, because the DA is behaving as if we have a coalition. It's us and them. The ANC National Executive Committee adopted a framework. We are guided by that framework, nothing else. So, and our position is clear, as the provincial secretary is saying, we are forming a provincial government of unity. As the ANC, we are forming the government, we are leading the government, we are inviting other parties. We've made this clear to the DA that we are inviting them, but they are behaving as if it's us and them. And then if we don't agree, then things fall apart. No, that's why the Premier, the list is got in his pocket now. It doesn't have the DA.
In the end, what's at stake here is effective governance and accountability. As citizens, it's essential to stay informed and demand transparency from our leaders. The Gauteng cabinet shake-up is more than just a political drama. It's a reminder of the impact of governance on our everyday lives and our economy. Thank you for joining us today on Inkarhi Its Time. If you found this discussion insightful, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button for more in-depth analysis. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think the situation in Gauteng should be handled? Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, remember, It's time for change. It's time for accountability. Thank you and take care.